Hello, I'm Rebecca Horan, and a very warm welcome to A Little Birdie Told Me, a podcast brought to you by rollercoaster.ie. In this season, I will sit down and chat to 16 pretty interesting people to discuss pregnancy, parenting, and everything in between. On this week's episode, I sit down with actor and producer Natalie Britton. Natalie is a mum of two and has recently made the move from LA to Dublin. Natalie discusses pregnancy loss in detail on this episode, and if you are affected, please seek the help that you need. Today's podcast, I have Natalie Britton. I will introduce her formally in a second, but the funny thing about us, well, it's not that funny because it's of the moment or of the day, is that Natalie and I met on Instagram.
We did, yeah.
And there was three of us that kind of met, myself, Dominique, and you and I met because we had babas in 2021 on the same ward in the same hospital in and around the same day.
Yeah, couple of days. August 19th is my daughter.
Yeah, 18th is Simone, yeah. And I think she was the 18th as well. And we had all spoken about stuff that had occurred to us to get to that point. And I just thought it was such a connection that'll always be there, whether we see each other, and like this is how we're seeing each other now because we haven't seen each other in ages. But we'll always have that connection. And it was really sweet because I was like, why am I following this inspirational, incredible woman? And we just formed this connection, and then we would chat all the time on mat leave about how you were, you know, and I'll formally intro you, but you were working as an actor, trying to get back on your feet in that whilst on mat leave and recovering from, you know, giving birth. And I was on this kind of extended leave and really just, you know, trying to embrace that. And we were in two very different places and we'd have these incredible chats, and then you come out to visit me. So Natalie is an actor. You will know her from every show at the moment. Like, you've in so many things. Give us a taste of what you've just done recently.
So what have I done? So I did Maxine, which was a Channel 5 show that aired on RTE a couple of months ago.
About Maxine Carr.
About Maxine Carr and Ian Huntley.
So brilliant.
Very dark, tough show, but important.
Yeah.
And then I've just filmed Quantum Leap, the new Quantum Leap, because, you know, when something is good, they just remake it.
Absolutely.
So I grew up on that show when I was little. So that was very fun. Shot that over in the States. And I have just wrapped on a big show for HBO, but I can't talk about it because of NDA. I know, I hate that.
You're such an SGP. I can't talk about the next series. That's so Natalie's the kind of person you're like, I know her. And it's a compliment, but I know her, I know her face, but I can't. And then I remember looking at your show reel and going, that's how I know her, you know, from Curb Your Enthusiasm or for that ad on TV that was huge at the time. Or so you are this great success story, but you also have so many other levels and layers to you. So we'll get into all of that in a second. But you're married to Rob, who's from New York.
Yes, from New York, Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. And Rob had his own interesting background. And then you guys lived and met in LA.
Yes. We met in LA in a bar, just like the movies. We were out one night and I walked into a bar, saw him, thought, think I need to know that guy. Walked up, tapped him on the shoulder. Yes, I'd had a few drinks. And said, do you have a girlfriend? And he laughed and said no. And that was that.
And Rob is about 6'8".
He's
extremely
6'5".
tall. Is he?
Very tall, yes.
Natalie is like redhead, huge blue eyes. You'll see in some of the pics for promo and little, like, and I just think you're so gas, like, and I see you with the kids, like when you put up videos and pictures, I'm like, that is funny, but it's silly of me, but it is, you're just so sweet.
Oh, thanks.
And you hit
I don't know
off.
if I've ever been called sweet before, Rebecca, but I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll probably change my mind by the end. But you hit it off. It
Yeah.
was an instant connection.
It was an instant connection, and I feel like that's happened in my life a few times. You know, I've met friends that way where I feel drawn to them, like my instinct or my gut or something just says, hey, this person should be in your life, and, you know, chat with them, and yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for that.
And you were both sexy, so it helped.
Back then, yes, maybe. Yeah, we're talking 12 years ago or so.
So you were there working, you'd left the South County Dublin, the suburbs of Dublin, to go off and what,
I left Ireland when I was 22.
Wow.
So I did the whole, like, go to business school, went to DCU to get, you know, a nice degree. Yeah. So I did a business degree in DCU for 4 years, and I spent my entire time in the drama sock.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I graduated, I think it was maybe 3 weeks before I was auditioning at drama schools, and by September I was over in London doing an acting
This
course,
makes sense to me now, though, because you'll say no, but actually, maybe you won't. But your business acumen, the way you are about your work and your future and your families, you're quite business focused, I would think. And I'm absolutely the opposite of that. And I've noticed it in our conversations. I'm like, God, she's so savvy about all this stuff. Now I know we're grown adults, but still. So that's interesting. You did that as actually your...
Yeah. And I think, a big part of it was me growing up and doing drama and loving it. But then also I had a single mom who had, and I say mom in the American way, but a single mom, who raised myself and my brother, and she worked and had her own business. And I grew up around that, and sort of learning how the whole 9 to 5 works and seeing the graft and all that, and kind of decided, oh God, I don't know if that's the life for me. I don't think I want to be self-employed, and then went straight into being an actor, which is the most self-employed thing you can do. So yeah, I trained in London for 3 years, lived and worked there for a few years after that, and then went straight from London to LA. And I'd
Why
never...
London? Just to go and...
That's where drama school was.
Just to hone the craft and kind of...
Yeah,
okay.
that was where I got... I auditioned at one place, got a place. They offered me like a scholarship, which sounds more impressive than it is, but basically like they're called dadas, or they were at the time, and they gave out a certain number of them.
Okay.
And it was like 11 or 12 grand sterling a year. So it was a case of if I didn't get it, I couldn't go. So I'd wanted to do a 1 year. I had wanted to do a 1 year course, but they offered me the 3 year. And so anyway, that's that. And then went off to LA, bypassed Ireland. So never...
But why didn't you stay in London? Why were you like LA? Like, what is it in you?
It wasn't, to be honest, I thought I would have gone to New York. I did a showcase there. An opportunity, really. I did a film back in London, and it had a premiere out in LA. And a friend had said he was going out there for a couple of months. And I've always been like this, where I take an opportunity. Like if someone says, hey, do you want to do this? If my instant reaction is, yeah, I'll kind of find a way to do it. And so in that moment, I thought, yeah, actually, why not go to LA for 3 months, on the visa, the tourist visa, and see what happens. And so, sent out loads of emails to managers and agents. Hey, I'm an Irish actress. You don't know me at all, but would you like to meet? And had a few meetings. And the next thing I knew, I was in a lawyer's office getting set up for a visa, calling my mum, saying, I think I'm moving to LA, calling the boyfriend, breaking up. Like it was a huge shift.
Do you think your mom has a lot, or is it your dad? I know he's in Spain, isn't he? Do you think your mom has a lot to do with this, the passion inside of you, the yearning to kind of see and do everything? Or is it nothing to do with anything to do with genetics or your family?
It's so hard, isn't it? Like, because they say you're born and you have, your personality within you. But obviously there are some things genetically that are passed down, and things you pick up on, like I was talking about earlier about watching my mum. My mum definitely has a drive, and she loves to work. She's retired now, but that would be in her. And I think for me, I always have been very driven and always want to be doing more and striving, and not really, and I guess this can be a good thing and a bad thing, but not settling, and not, there's always the next thing, and always what else could I be doing, and how could I turn this into something else? And
is it a discontent? Like, do you feel you have to keep, I watch you and I feel I get all like lectury. I'm like, now Natalie, you need to mind yourself. And we don't know what that actually means, mind yourself, because that's just it's horseshit.
Yeah.
But it's like, you need to, and you're like, what is... And in another way, I'm kind of similar, but probably not as extreme, because I'm planted here. I don't have the opportunity to travel with my particular role. But you are very...
Yeah, I think it's a real combination of things. I think when I was younger, my parents split up very young, and I would have always been quite a strong character. And then that label was put on me from quite a young age, Nat's really strong, she'll be fine, she'll be grand. And so I kind of stepped into that, and I was like, oh, that's what everybody thinks of me. And I forged on, whether it was sports or academics or whatever, it was like, this is kind of what people expect of me. And I only really realized that through a lot of therapy recently, where you're going, oh, hold on a second, like, was that me, or was that what people thought of me, and that suited it?
We spoke about labeling on another of the podcasts for this series, and how labeling could actually be quite empowering because you either go against the label or you embrace it, like you said, or it's really disempowering. And I definitely remember having labels as a kid, and by no fault. I think it was that generation where it was like, she's the joker, she's the funny one.
And people don't realize it can be quite harming. And, you know, when your aunties and your uncles and your friends' parents are, you know, kind of saying and you're hearing it, you start believing it. And it's not that there wasn't an element of truth, but then I suddenly felt like, oh, I have all these people that are expecting a lot from me, and there's expectations. And then that made me have high expectations. And I do have high expectations, so I don't think is a bad thing sometimes, but I would have high standards, and you can't always meet them. You just can't, but I always strive for it. And so there is a part of it that's in me, and I think maybe has been pushed a little bit too much. But I am a very driven person, and I think I always will be. And I find it hard. I will sometimes crave stillness, and then I sit in it. And after a few days, like for example, at the moment, I'm being the stay-at-home parent, whereas my husband had been for a while I was working a lot. And now with the strike in Hollywood, everything is kind of shut down production wise. So I know for the next few months, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going over to LA. And so I'm going to be here. And I have had now 1.5 weeks, maybe 2 weeks of this being at home with the kids. And I love my kids, but I also am craving to get out.
This should be the title of actually the series. I love my kids, but I crave to get the hell away from my kid. Like, that is it. Like, that's it in a nutshell. We don't even have to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
I have a constant, you know, my quandary is constantly, I want to be at home, you know, making cake and being there for every collection and making sure I'm feeding it. But then I know when I do it for a certain amount of days, or when I did do it, I also need to fulfill my own stuff, and
Absolutely.
I've got my own identity, and they don't actually need me that much, and it's all a little bit of a, or someone said, what did they say? And then when I am at home, I just scream.
Yeah, scream a lot. So it's that search for this balance, right? The enigma, what is balance? And I think balance is different for everyone. And, you know, what will be your friends or your cousin's balance or your mother's balance isn't yours. And sometimes you don't know what that is until you've been in it for a few years. And my son is 5 and my daughter is
5 and 1.
Yeah, my daughter is 21 months now or something. I don't know. People ask me and I just say she's 2 in August because, you know, second kid syndrome. But I've only now kind of realized where my sweet spot is, you know, and I think it's finding that for yourself and knowing and not being ashamed, because people will, you should this and you should that.
Listen,
and
everyone has an opinion on your life.
Everyone has an opinion, or the judgment, or if they're not judging, you feel like they're judging. And so for me, I really, the truth of it is that I think my sweet spot is, you know, 65% work, 35% kids. And if I could spend my day with that ratio, I think that's where I'm like the best version of myself and the best parent that I can be. But I don't get to choose that, right? And I've chosen a career that it's the one career that no matter how hard you work, you're not guaranteed anything, right? And maybe there was a reason why I chose that career back then, if we want to like think about it when I was younger, you know. I'm interested in many things. It's the unknown, and it's really like you just don't know month to month, week to week what's on, and so day to day I'll either be working really, really hard and kind of away from the kids for 3 weeks
lying
or 4
in
weeks,
airports on red eyes, shooting all day for 14 hours.
Yeah, or I'll be with the kids knee deep in poo and just screaming for my husband to come home. And the irony kind of is that he would much rather be at home.
So funny. Yeah, we've had this.
He wants to be a stay-at-home dad. Like, that is, if you could...
And you could never say that 30 years ago.
Never.
Even if you wanted to. It's like,
he's like magic wand. This is what I want to do above anything else. And I see it because this man was born to be a dad.
And some people are.
Some people are born to be
moms.
They absolutely full time, you know. But it's what he'd love to do. And I kind of, you know. And so we were sitting chatting the other day, going, okay, let's put it out in the universe, because he's now out at work and he works 3 days a week. And I'm at home and I'm going, and we're both looking at each other going, I want what you have. And, you know, it's also a case that we've been in Ireland only a couple of years. We came back here during COVID, and we're trying to figure out the landscape and the plan here, and you don't get to just step into what you want. It takes a little while. So, and then throw the 2 kids in and try.
But then even when you get the what you want, you're still not like, I feel like in many ways your life is, if you compare your success story in your life regarding your career, and if I compare it to my life, but then maybe I have the more settled life because I've been here longer, so I've got the home and stuff. But then you still want the this, the that. So I don't even know when you know exactly where you want to be and you settle, whether that'll still be, because I think that's that is maybe who we are, and that's okay too. Like I put a cheesy clip up. I'm kind of like, I'm adverse to the whole women can do, but there was this documentary I happened on Netflix, which was that Oprah and Michelle chat about the light we carry or something, and I'm not really feeling that, and I wanted to watch something grittier, and then it kind of started and I was like, oh, this is going to be very sycophantic, and then I kind of enjoyed Michelle Obama's. I thought it was going to be all like preachy and we're a multi gazillionaires, but we're going to tell you ordinary people in the audience how to parent. I was just like, I don't need this in my life today, and I was having a bad day. And actually Michelle Obama was like, I hated Barack for 10 years, which, we don't need her to be negative to like her, but I loved the authenticity.
Absolutely. The
and
honesty.
she's talking about the way her kids are so different and this, and how she struggled with, and then she said, like, you can have it all. And I was like, oh, have it all. And she's like, but just not at the same time.
Right.
And I kept going, well, I don't know if that's true, because I know people who have it all at the same time. And I was like, oh yeah, they're miserable. So I would listen to that like a few times in my head. I was like, you absolutely can have it all. You can have the great sexy relationship with your husband and that's going great, but then something else falls to shit, and you can have the kids if you really want to do that through whatever means, be it IVF, like we can all make it. It's just really hard. And you can have the career, but then something else. So you can have it all, just never at the same time. And maybe that's okay. And I think I just had to keep, listening to that. But I don't know, do you agree with that?
I do. I think what's hard is that we don't have the crystal ball. And so we don't know that it's going to be okay. And we don't know. And that's why people are always saying, well, look back and remember that bad thing that happened. Look what, and I think as we get older, we see that and we get wiser. And I think also we go through tough things that make us more resilient and that make us appreciate things more. And you shift and you change. As much as people don't like to say, that they've changed a lot. I think that we are at our core who we are, and then there's always growth. And I look back on me 10 years ago and me now, and I have changed hugely. I'm still at my core the same person, but you therefore change your perspective on things, and sometimes things that were really important just aren't anymore.
And you grieve that person a bit? No?
A little, because I just feel, I suppose as well, it's hard to know whether you're just grieving your youth, and the energy that we used to have. But I much prefer who I am now.
Wow.
I'm more comfortable in who I am. I'm more confident. I do think that happens, especially with women, once we hit a certain age. There's something about turning 40 and
I think because I'm just on the periphery of that, I'm in a complete funk about what I want. Maybe. So I don't think I'm there yet, and I just feel really sad for the life and so I definitely think I'm going through, but I think I'll come through the other side, because everyone has told me you get into 40 and it's just a much calmer zone.
Yeah. I think also standing back and going, hold on, like if I look at my life as if, this was a friend I was looking at, or it makes it nearly easier. And sometimes I do have to do that and go, like, look how far you've come, look what you've gone through, look, you're still standing, you've done this, like you've chosen a career that's really hard, and it's been up and down. And moving back to Ireland, no, it's a country where it's very small and everyone knows everyone, and I came back and didn't really understand that until I tried to forge a career here. And that's been a challenge that was unexpected, but also that was my choice, right? I left and I went to the drama school that took me, and then I went to LA just to travel. I've always traveled, and one thing led to another, and suddenly I'm there 12 years, and then I have kids, and we're back in Ireland and wanting to raise them here. And
talk to me about Rob and the kids, actually, for a second. Sorry to interrupt. Talk to me about, so you marry in LA, this gorgeous man. You did marry there?
No, we married in Kennedy Castle.
You married here?
Yeah. So
went back to live your lives there.
yeah.
Did you get a house? You were settled there? You were...
Yeah, renting.
Did you love your lives there?
I loved a big part of it. I mean, when we were dating and we were engaged and married, and then there's so much to be said for LA. Like, it is the hub and there's a lot of work there. The weather is amazing. You can do a lot, and you meet your people. It took me a while. My first year there was really hard because you get there's, you know, LA, the rumors are true. You know, people tell you what you want to hear, and there's an awful lot of BS, and you kind of have to figure that out. And when you come from Ireland, where, you know, people say something and you believe them, and then you're over there and you're going, oh, but you said let's meet for coffee at 2:00 and I'm
I would
here.
not cope.
And then why am I sitting on my own? Have I just been stood up? What's going on?
I would
you know?
be there sitting waiting.
And it's like, oh no, we didn't confirm. It's like, oh shit, okay. You know, there's an awful lot of, you know, bailing last minute, and people, and that's the industry. Unfortunately, it's like there's always things happening, and people, and so for someone who's coming out there and being, you know, I would have my feet on the ground. I'd be quite like, you know, a sensible person, but it took me up in a whirlwind, and I went out. I didn't know anybody when I went out there, so it was really hard. And then I found my people one by one, and I was like, I'll have you, and then you just kind of, you build your you know, your group, and that's what I did over the years, and I did enjoy it, and I think it's a city that you can enjoy at any point in life, but we had never decided that we were gonna move back to Ireland. In fact, when we even talked about it, we were like, no, like, come on, never. And my mum would have said, I never thought that you'd move back here. But we came back during COVID for a visit because it was so bad in the States at the time. It's just really heightened. There were loads of cases. We just came back to Ireland. We had a return flight. We came back for 3.5 weeks. And then...
you had Oakley, who's your 5-year-old.
Yeah, we had him. He was 2.5 at the time.
He was born in America?
Born in LA, yeah. And
you were not pregnant?
No, well, I was pregnant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was... So
Messiah was in your...
No. So after Oakley was born, he was about 8 months, and we decided, let's go again and have another kid so that we can bang them out. They'll be best buds. I'll be able to get back to work, and that was the plan. And then we lost that pregnancy at maybe 7 or 8 weeks, and geared up, tried again, lost that one at 10 weeks, geared up, tried again, lost that pregnancy at 14 weeks. That was a pretty hard loss because at that point we had really thought that we were over the hump. It was a very, very tough loss because it was we got the results back, and people who have been through this and pregnancy know that you get this test done at 12 months. In the States it's called the NIPT. I don't know what it's called here. Right. And
12 weeks.
We got the results at 12 weeks. Yeah, we got the results back from that, and the doctor was like, I'm so sorry, but there's chromosomal issues, there's heart defects present, there's all this stuff. And I remember falling to the floor and being like, no, and just weeping and calling my mom, and not, you know, and then you have to go through all these other tests, and the doctor, of course, is like, well, you have a choice to make, you know, and they call it termination for medical reasons, TFMR, and is to this day one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to go through. We kept going back in for monitoring, and it was getting worse and worse, and we sat down and we went through all the decisions and the implications, and then the day before we went in for the termination, we did an ultrasound and there was no heartbeat. So in some ways it was a relief, but I remember feeling like very conflicted about that because I was sitting there wanting the pregnancy to work so much, and yet willing the baby that I was carrying to free themselves. And so I wouldn't have to do it, which ultimately happened, but the ending was the same. And so I know that so many couples go through this, and it's really, really hard. And so I went into a very dark place for a few months.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
yeah, thank you. It's,
It pains me to hear you in pain, because it's a very, like you've said, loads of people go through it, but absolutely it hurts when you know the person. And I know you have been through stuff, but that, I didn't know about that in particular. That's really tough.
yeah, it was very, very hard. And it brings up a lot of things. I think it's a very difficult conversation that you have with a partner, because I don't think many people sit down before they get married or during their relationship and say, hey, what are your views on this? What would happen if? Because they don't even want to put it out there, and it's not that it's a bad thing. Everyone will have
a really awful conversation.
well, people, nobody wants to be in a situation where you're having to decide something so huge and you don't know necessarily what other people's views are on it. And so once we were told that the pregnancy, they were like, you won't even make it to term, and if you do, the baby will be stillborn or and won't last. You'll put yourself in complications. There was a lot of things that we had to take into account. It kind of colored our decision, but everybody's situation is so different and so complex, and they're all different. There's a wide spectrum. So I feel for everybody. I joined this secret Facebook group that somebody suggested to me, and it got me through it, to be perfectly honest. I used to just click in there and scroll because all I'd want to see is somebody who'd been through exactly what I'd been through, but I needed them to be 2 months ahead, 3 months ahead, a year ahead, and to know that they're okay, that they got through it, because I just didn't know how physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it, I was going to handle it. And with the previous losses, they had hit me, but I had kind of just picked myself up and said, okay, you know what, this happens, miscarriage is really common. And I found straight away that by sharing and talking about it, it was the one positive that actually I got from such an awful situation. Through talking about it, then other people would come back and talk to me about it.
And I think pregnancy loss, I've discovered, is kind of an obsessive, I don't know whether you would agree, there's an obsessiveness. Like you were talking about finding a forum that wasn't Rob or your mom or friends. Like, it wasn't those people, it was just random people.
People.
And I remember with me, it was buying pregnancy tests, because one day we might get pregnant again, so I'll have them at home. And Jason just being like, why are you buying boxes of pregnancy tests? You've just had lots. It's just, that's weird. And I was like, yeah, but I'll need them for when. And then I know people who become obsessed with people's pregnancy announcements because they're like, oh, and there's hope in that.
Yeah. And it's kind of masochistic as well. Like, it's this thing, like, I don't want, you're going, God, I really care about this person and they're my really good friend, but they've just announced they're pregnant and that's really complicated for me.
My gosh.
And I need some time away. And I remember having to say to some of my very close friends, like, I can't come to your baby shower because as much as I love you, it is killing me inside.
And I don't think there's anything, like, I've had people say, there's something really selfish, you should be happy for everyone, all this kind of, we should all embrace other people's joy, and it sounds like you're jealous. No, I do not want your baby. It is not about that. It is the trickiness of navigating meeting a newborn or watching a woman growing a baby when you're having so many difficulties. And
it's understanding that we can feel,
like, there's a lot.
We can feel multiple emotions at the same time. We can be happy for someone and still be sad for ourselves, and it's not about being
I remember meeting new babies and still bleeding after and just finding that so complex.
I think I will always. I think that's the damage that it's done to me. No matter how much healing I've gone through, that still. People who, when I see people who just get pregnant really easily, it's a big kind of, without overusing that trigger word, heavy. But it is like, it's like, ooh, it takes me all the way back to like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And it's great that you can just bang them out like that. But like, I've been through hell.
To have two humans.
So to get back on that baby train. So that was our third loss. And then...
Did you go to therapy?
I did go to therapy. I found it really hard in the States to find someone fertility specialist wise, which has kind of been the motivating factor for me wanting to start my own fertility coaching business. She likes to do a lot
of things at the one time.
Which
she's just completed a course. This woman doesn't stop doing things.
But I think it's very needed here. And since living in Ireland, I've just sort of noticed the fact that the industry here is
No, you're just not busy enough. You're actually just not busy enough.
But it's a passion project, right? It's something that I really care about. Plus, unfortunately, I've learned so much about pregnancy loss and IVF and surgeries and all of that stuff that I feel like I'm already so involved in that community on Instagram, and it's something that I feel that I want to, it's a space I want to work in. And so, watch that space. But anyway, I did one, so we had one more pregnancy, and that was the pregnancy which, when I landed in Ireland, I think I was about 10 weeks, and went into Holles Street for that ultrasound check, and there was no heartbeat there, and I just, that was the end. That was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't put my body. Was there investigative work? There was, and again, it was abnormal chromosomes, and so for me, I just thought, what is going on? This is like 4 in a row. But yet we'd had my son naturally, my son, absolute miracle child. We still don't know how he landed. Quite easily? Yeah, he came. Yeah. And
is this a secondary infertility thing?
It is. Okay. And we when we looked into it, the doctors were kind of like, wow, between the two of you, because Rob would have his issues and I would have mine. Like, I found out I only had one fallopian tube. Right,
but like sister,
2.5.
We're so hot.
2.5 years down into trying to have a baby and going like, this whole time I've been ovulating on my left. I know. Thinking this will be the cycle, and going, nothing's coming out of there.
On my right. Maybe we could just bring our bodies together.
But you unfortunately learn and get so educated about things you don't know about because there is no education around this stuff. And so at that point I said, if we're going to do this again, and I knew with my son that I could get pregnant and I could carry a pregnancy. So I thought, okay, let's give IVF a shot. And if we can do that and we can test the embryos and we can go that route, let's go. But I can't try this naturally again. And so that was when I started researching it, and it's so cost prohibitive in the States. It's like 35 grand. No. Oh yeah, 35 grand
for a psych for what?
Around, like, yeah, with the testing that you need done.
35 grand.
And then here,
that's a deposit for that's insane.
Yeah, and imagine the people who do multiple rounds. Like, it's a business, and I think this is kind of the problem.
I thought it was more affordable there because they do it so much. It's like
no
tried and tested. In Ireland we're so new to all
So
this.
Ireland is new. They don't offer any free cycles or anything, unfortunately, yet. But it's about 5 grand for a round, but then you need, if you want to do the testing, which we wanted to do, it was going to rack up to be about 12. So then that was where I found Prague, which I will scream about and shout about and tell everybody I can about, because it is just, I think the golden hub of fertility. They're kind of a pioneer of fertility treatment, and it's really regulated and it's really affordable. So our cycle cost €2,500, and each embryo test was like €300 an embryo. So it was so affordable. Flew over there, flew back, and thankfully we got 2 embryos, which we put one in and got my daughter. And so that was kind of what made us stay on here, because I was pregnant and I didn't want to do anything risky and move back. So we fast forward and the baby arrives, and at that point we'd both started to pick up a bit of work here, and the
baby arrives. Discuss this divine goddess of your child. She's the exact same age as Simone, and she's just the cutest. Talk to me about her.
She's a little red-headed firecracker. She's
the most beautiful hair.
She's the boss of the house, which is really funny. Like, to see the dynamic. I'm sure you have a similar thing where you're watching these little personalities and you kind of nearly.
the CEO. We're all just literally her
in her life.
Aegis.
Yeah. So Keziah is very much that, and bosses my son around in a wonderful way, and she's great. So my husband, I don't know, you mentioned, so he's black, and so he has this like, afro hair, and she's got this like red, really tight curls, and she's brilliant. She's got a lot of me. She's got a lot of Rob's personality too, and we're just so
great names though, Oakley and Keziah. Great names.
Thanks. Yeah,
Strong.
you either go. I mean, we were either going to go real traditional or something different, but we didn't want to go down that like, apple awful route. So it's like, let's stick with names. And Oakley came, again, I think I heard somebody who had that, a kid, and I stored it away, and Keziah was the same. I had met someone like back in my life whose name was Keziah and just stored it, the way you do. And then it's so hard to land on a name because there's so many associations. So the fact the two of us liked them. Now we had a couple of names and we waited until we met them to see the energy and stuff that they came out with. But no, they're great kids, and I feel very, very lucky. So, I've been through, a bit of a journey to have her. And then most recently, we had one other embryo. And so we had been going back and forth. Will we have another? Are we mad to even be thinking about it? Because we're both living this freelance life and we don't know what we're doing, and we're coming and we're going, and life is crazy. And what are we thinking about bringing another baby in? But then I love the kids so much. And as I said, my husband's such a great dad. I thought, why not? I think it was one of those things where I knew I would always regret it if we didn't try it. But if we did it and it worked, I certainly wouldn't regret it. And if we did it and it didn't work, I wouldn't regret it. So that was ultimately the decision. And so I went over to Prague, maybe 3 months ago, maybe, I'm a producer as well, so I was producing a short film down for Screen Ireland in Cork, and drove through the night, got on a plane.
Everything.
Went out to Prague, spread my legs, they shot the other embryo into me, ran back to the airport via Frankfurt, got back, and then I think I had one day with the kids and went off to LA. So, we didn't know what to expect from it. And then, got pregnant, and we were like, oh my God, it's happening. Fast forward 6 weeks, and unfortunately had a miscarriage. So that's it for us. We're done. I'm done. My body is done. And so now I get...
Are you definitely done?
I'm definitely done, yeah. Because
I presume your eggs, you could... maybe explain to me, you could go over and do...
I could do another retrieval and go through that whole process again, but it was very taxing on my body. The pregnancies wreck you in one way, and I've had 7 pregnancies in 5 years. But the IVF, the pregnancies and the losses, beast. The IVF is a different beast. All those hormones, and it changes your body, and it sends you cuckoo bananas, and it's a lot. And so I've gone through so many surgeries. I had to have fibroids removed. I had to have laparoscopies, hysteroscopies, myomectomies. I've had like 13 different uterine surgeries. My body is so wrecked. So for me now, I'm like, okay, this is a new chapter. I have 2 amazing kids. I've done everything I could do. And now it's time to just kind of not have my body be a vessel for someone else or something else.
Were you very sad?
I was a bit sad because it was so definitive. I knew, and we had that conversation. We were like, it's this or nothing. Okay. It's this one or nothing. We have the one left. And we wouldn't naturally conceive again because I can't go back to that trauma, and my husband is even more so. Sometimes I'd say, oh, maybe, and he'd say, I can't. There's no way. There's no way. The risk, and just with knowing what we know about our situation, so it's just no. So that's it, and it's been closure in one way, and now I kind of feel like this new chapter where I can just focus on myself. And so much of my identity has been wrapped up in trying to get pregnant, and either I'm pregnant or I'm recovering from a loss or I'm gearing up to go again, and that's been my life for 6 years.
It's such an intense toll on your marriage, even no matter how great friend, I think we both have husbands who are pretty supportive and chill and kind, and they've all the good stuff, but it's still draining when that is a constant conversation. And all you're told in school is, don't get pregnant.
Don't get pregnant.
It'll ruin your life. If you have sex, run away from that.
So easy to get pregnant.
You know what I mean? It's so easy. Or use and then you're in relationships in your 20s and you're like, the fear of God. I'm just starting my career. I want to travel. I do not want to go. And then you hit your 30s, and I still know people now who don't have their babies and they're still doing IVF, and you hit your 30s and you're like, I might think about it. It'll probably just take 2 seconds. And then when it doesn't, or it does, but you lose them, it's just, I don't know, it's something we need in our curriculum. It's
the messaging,
awful.
when the messaging is...
And for boys too, and for guys too.
Guys too. Yeah. When the messaging is, it's so easy to get, you're going to get pregnant. You're going to get pregnant. And then you don't. Then suddenly it's, well, what? Is there something wrong with me? Am I and because there's not that much Now we're talking about
it's
it
not
a
a
little
sexy
bit
subject.
more. Well, it's not a
It's not
sexy
sexy.
subject, but it is.
It's like guys' sperm being tested as well as women, and you always think it's the woman, and they're like, no, your sperm count is really bad. And you don't, nobody wants to talk about that around the dinner table because that's demasculating it, or erectile dysfunction. Like, nobody wants to talk about that.
And yet,
stuff.
when
Why
you
would
do,
they?
you kind of find, oh, hold on a
Everyone's
second, you're
mis-
not alone, you know? And it is really common. And I heard some statistic the other day about sperm being like the lowest the count that it has been in years.
I
And there's
presume
a
from
lot
stress,
to,
is
there's
it?
a lot.
Yeah.
They're studying it at the moment. But like, you know, it's not a guarantee. And to know that it's common and it's normal and there's nothing wrong with you.
Like, I didn't know from Instagram and your Fab Cork show and your things in America that you were traveling to Prague getting, you know, that happened. You know, you wouldn't know while I was working that like Jay and I were probably having to do things at certain times of the month because, and the stress and the wait, the 2-week wait, and nobody knows. Nobody talks about it. It's not exciting.
Because you don't say, hi, this is what's going on in my life.
We
And
just,
yeah.
I'm hoping.
You just do it. But it's a whole like extra kind of load that you're carrying that people don't know about. And that I think really helps when people do talk about it, because there are so many couples and people going through this. And it's very, very important to know that you're not alone and this happens. And there should be more education around it, and that people come out the other side okay.
And thank you for, like, you know, I'm mad about you and I wanted you. I mean, I've chased you, like I'm a stalker for this, and then you couldn't and I couldn't, and like I was like, if you don't, and you're like, oh well, if you didn't come on this, I would have been heartbroken because it was so important that to have you in this. But thank you for sharing intimate. Like, look, I know that you are an open book and you're great at sharing things, but it is also an intimate conversation with someone. Thank you for telling us, because it actually only helps others, but it also hopefully will, when you listen back, be a kind of therapy for yourself. But I just wanted to say, like, how are you and Rob now? How are you and the kids? Like, do you feel like you're in a lovely sync with? I think there's a lovely feeling of two. There's a nice completion actually.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
that.
And it's a lot of work. Like, you're kept busy all the time. We're good, you know. Our marriage has somehow, when I think about it, and I say it out loud and I listen, but we do, thankfully we do have a very strong marriage, and I think that it's all down to communication. I think that he has a very high emotional IQ, which helps. And he is a big communicator, and so we chat a lot about things, so things don't really build up. And through this, he was very open and supportive, and he got help as well. So he chatted to friends about it and through all the ups and downs, and that really, really helped. So we're good. He's adjusting to Irish life.
Is he happy?
And he is happy here. Yeah, the kids are a big part of his life, and now that he started this new job, which he really likes, he's working in advertising, and it's something he's always wanted to do. So
he's going to be so good at that.
It's a really good fit. I'm really happy for him. Which, you know, I think there's a guilt sometimes when you make someone move to a country, you know, your country, and you're like, I really hope this works out, and then, you know, make some friends and get a job and fit in, and you know, he's
quite fun to watch on Instagram. His name's That's Rob Mitchell, is it? Or
That's Rob Mitchell.
Like when he's parenting solo, like, and Nat goes away, like he's great to watch. He's such a energetic dad, and I hate doing the whole he's a great dad, because like, stop, like they should be great dads.
They should be great dads,
but he is fantastic, and like also quirky, and I'd say advertising will suit him to the ground. But I also love that he also just kind of wants to be with the kids. How do you parent? And then I will wrap this up. I feel like I'm dragging the
we parent so we're quite laid back parents, which surprised me, because I thought I would be quite stressed when the baby arrived. I thought, oh God, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, etc., etc. But you know, he's quite a laid back person, and we're pretty chill when it comes to parenting. People will, like, we're the kind of parents where when the kid falls down, you know, everyone else will go,
you just go to the cafe.
And we're like, oh, get up. You know, he's grand.
Stop looking for attention.
Yeah, it's all attention. But I surprised myself with how relaxed and laid back I am as a parent. I think that the biggest thing that I learned was there's so many books out there, and it's such a money racket. And, you know, I think that that's because it's a very vulnerable time, and, you know, people can prey a lot on new parents, and oh, you should be doing this and learn this and this technique and that's technique. And actually, look, we've been doing this for years, haven't we? And like, you have everything in you. in your instincts to know what to do and how to parent the children that you have.
Well, this is a gorgeous point. They're not all cookie cutouts of each other. I talk about the two humans I have now. They're the most different children. I was so different to my sisters, so were they to me. And we try and why don't you like this sport? Why don't you? And we try and do that, and it's so dangerous. And I spend most of my week having, and in any of my downtime in the gym or on walks, voice memoing other mums going to do, and sometimes my husband just goes, "But you know this." Mm-hmm.
And an overload,
why are you questioning
exactly,
yourself?
an overload of information that you can get from
so many opinions.
Exactly.
And he says, "I think you handled that beautifully. You gave her a hug. You told her it's grand. Sure, who cares? And you told her what, you didn't fill her with more doubt. You didn't make her more anxious. You didn't give her the right idea. You actually let her decide." And ultimately you kept saying, "But when you come home, we love you, so it doesn't really." And he's like, if we keep doing that, which I don't think was done as much in generations before
because
us.
I don't think people trusted themselves enough, and I think that that's really what it is, to trust that you know how, that your kid will tell you what they need, and that it's not, everything's going to be okay. Just do the right thing. As long as you do what you think is best and you raise them that way. Everybody's in a different situation. Everyone's in a different circumstance. People have so many different things going on in their lives and different setups and scenarios, and whether people, so I just think that it's a case of being a team. And definitely for us, we tend to agree and align on many things, including how we parent. And then the things that we might have a strong feeling about, really whoever feels stronger wins out in that situation. So if my husband is, "I really don't think we should do this," I'm like, no, I think we should. And he'll sit me down and say, "I really, really don't. I feel very strongly about this. Please let me have this one." I'll say, "Okay, fair enough." And so that's, if ever there's a disagreement of sorts, it's kind of like whoever really feels the strongest, and then the other person sits back. So, I feel like we're doing a good job. They're alive and they're happy kids, which is the most important thing. And I think about that, they've moved. My son in particular has had maybe 8 different homes in 5 years, because we've bounced around so much, and here with the rental crisis and stuff. And I would have thought always, stability, give them a roof over their head, all these things that we were taught. I'm looking at my kid who is he's learning how to adapt. This is me probably putting a spin on it, but he's not bothered at all.
Stability is you and
actually
Rob,
the stability is, oh hey, my parents love me, they're there for me, and there's boundaries and there's consequences and all those things. So we're very much I know there's all this hoopla of, modern parenting, but we are very much of that, hey, if you do something now.
Sorry, I think we're turning the key on that child-centric. I think there was definitely there's been about a 10-15 years of people trying to overcomplicate full feelings, and I think it's important we listen to our children, but I think we're now coming back to that traditional sense of there's a consequence for smacking your sister with the thing over her head, or there's a consequence for behaving like that, and I do think that's discipline. We had discipline, boundaries. You don't get everything you want. If that happens, you follow through. Jason used to say to me, that's an empty threat. You're saying you won't be getting, and then he's like, you give her the ice cream. She
do that one more time and we're leaving the playground.
She understands in work she can do that, and then
and direct consequences as well. Something happens now, so what can we do now rather than later on? You're not getting your, because that doesn't. And so we're learning that these things, and then you see it actually work, and you're going, okay, cool, But a big part of it is taking what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and adjusting to the kids that you have, because you're going to have shy kids, you're going to have boisterous kids, and some things will work on some and some will work on the other, but consistency I think is a huge thing, and being on the same team. So that's what we try to do every day. And then, on the days where it falls to absolute shit, we go, okay, we'll start again tomorrow.
And you open a bottle of wine. Natalie Britton, without being creepy, I love watching you. That sounds creepy. But I love watching you. I love the content that you're putting out there. I love the fact that you're living your best life with your acting, but you're also doing this other stuff with life coaching and perhaps even this fertility story here. I think you're a fantastic role model for women, and I've loved getting to know you. So thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Little Birdie Told Me. And if you did, it would be wonderful if you could subscribe to the podcast.